The Rise and Fall of Enron, A Tale of Greed and Deception. Chapter 1. The Ambitious Beginnings. In the early 1980s, Enron began as a small natural gas pipeline company in Houston, Texas. Its founder, Kenneth Lay, was an ambitious businessman with a vision to revolutionize the energy sector. Rather than just focusing on transportation, Lay sought to create a trading market for natural gas, something that hadn't been done before. In a deregulated market, Enron saw opportunities to profit from buying and selling energy as a commodity. This idea would later lay the foundation for the company's explosive rise. By the mid-1990s, Enron's ambitions had expanded beyond gas pipelines. With the leadership of Jeffrey Skilling, who became CEO in 1997, the company entered the world of energy trading and quickly emerged as a giant in the field. Instead of simply producing or distributing energy, Enron began to make money by buying, selling, and trading energy contracts. It was a bold, innovative approach that promised immense rewards. The company rapidly expanded its operations into various sectors beyond energy, including broadband and even weather futures. Enron's stock price skyrocketed, and the company became a Wall Street darling. It was seen as a new age marvel of corporate success. Enron was portrayed as an unstoppable force, so successful that even its critics seemed to be in awe of its ability to generate profits through complex financial schemes. Chapter 2. The Illusion of Innovation. Beneath the surface, however, the company's business model began to unravel. Enron's innovation was not in its energy trading operations, but in the creation of complicated financial instruments and accounting practices that allowed it to report profits that didn't exist. Enron used special-purpose entities, SPEs, to hide debt off its balance sheet. These off-the-books partnerships were used to mask the company's true financial position, allowing Enron to appear more profitable than it actually was. The company would book projected future profits from these entities as if they were real, creating a misleading image of financial stability. Meanwhile, the company's executives were inflating its stock price by engaging in risky financial dealings, all while actively suppressing any public knowledge of its mounting liabilities. Employees were encouraged to buy Enron stock with their retirement savings, all while the company leadership quietly sold their own stock in the company, sensing that a collapse was on the horizon. But even as the red flags started to appear, Enron's rise continued. Its operations seemed untouchable. Enron's top executives and analysts, including CEO Kenneth Lay and COO Jeffrey Skilling, were revered as masterminds of modern business. They were praised for their unconventional methods, with many in the media and investment world buying into the myth that Enron was too innovative to fail. Chapter 3. The Collapse begins. Enron's success depended on two critical factors: the growth of its energy trading business and the manipulation of its accounting practices. Both started to crack in 2001. The first signs of trouble came when a whistleblower, Sharon Watkins, an internal vice president, raised concerns to the company's board about the company's financial irregularities. She claimed that Enron's accounting practices were a house of cards that could collapse at any moment. But her warnings went largely unheeded. As the year went on, questions about Enron's financials became impossible to ignore. Analysts started to dig deeper into the company's financial statements, uncovering that the company had been overstating its profits by billions of dollars. In October 2001, it was revealed that Enron had overstated its earnings by $586 million over the previous 4 years. This revelation sparked investigations into the company's accounting practices. The media, once enamored with Enron's supposed brilliance, turned on the company. Journalists began to expose the extent of the fraud, focusing on the company's use of SPEs and its failure to disclose the true extent of its debt. As more and more details emerged, the market began to lose confidence in Enron. Chapter 4. The Sudden Fall. By December 2001, Enron's stock price had plummeted from a high of over $90 a share to less than $1. The company filed for bankruptcy on December 2, 2001, marking the largest corporate bankruptcy in U.S. history at the time. Enron's collapse was nothing short of catastrophic. Thousands of employees lost their jobs, and many saw their life savings wiped out as their retirement accounts heavily invested in Enron stock, became worthless. For many, the pain was personal. Former employees who had spent years building their careers at Enron found themselves without jobs or pensions. The company's bankruptcy also reverberated across the economy, as investors and banks who had financed Enron's complex operations suffered massive losses. As the scandal unfolded, it became clear that Enron's downfall had been driven by systemic fraud. The company had been engaged in deceptive accounting practices that involved manipulating financial statements, inflating profits, and hiding debt. The full extent of Enron's fraud was shocking. Enron executives had misled investors, employees, and the public for years. Chapter 5. The Aftermath and Legal Fallout. In the wake of Enron's collapse, the United States government launched numerous investigations. The SEC and the Justice Department quickly turned their attention to the company's leadership and top executives, including Kenneth Lay, Jeffrey Skilling, and CFO Andrew Fastow, faced criminal charges. Lay and Skilling were both indicted on charges of securities fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy. In 2006, Lay died of a heart attack before his trial concluded, while Skilling was convicted on multiple charges and sentenced to 24 years in prison, although his sentence was later reduced. Fastow, who had masterminded many of the financial schemes that brought down Enron, cooperated with the investigation and was sentenced to 6 years in prison. Enron's downfall also led to significant changes in corporate regulation. The scandal exposed the lack of oversight in corporate governance and accounting practices, and in 2002, the Sarbanes-Oxley Act was passed. This landmark legislation imposed stricter regulations on accounting firms, CEOs, and CFOs, requiring them to take responsibility for the accuracy of their company's financial statements. Chapter 6. The Legacy of Enron. The fall of Enron was a watershed moment in corporate America. It represented the dangers of unchecked corporate greed and the lengths to which companies and executives could go to hide their financial misdeeds. The Enron scandal eroded trust in corporate America and Wall Street, leaving a scar on the business world that would take years to heal. The company's fall also led to deep changes in how business was done, particularly in the world of energy trading. Enron had once been a symbol of innovation, but its name became synonymous with corporate fraud and corruption. For years, Enron remained a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition and the importance of transparency and accountability in business. But the story of Enron didn't end in 2001. The company's downfall left behind a legacy of cautionary lessons, reshaping not just the energy sector, but corporate America as a whole. The shadow of Enron's greed and deception still lingers in the lessons it taught about trust, ethics, and the consequences of putting profits ahead of everything else. Enron's rise and fall is a story of ambition gone wrong, of promises unkept, and of a company that, for a brief moment, seemed unstoppable. Yet, its ultimate collapse serves as a potent reminder of the dangers of corporate deception and the fragility of business success built on a foundation of lies. In the years following its collapse, the world moved on, but the lessons of Enron continue to resonate, reminding us that no amount of innovation or market manipulation can substitute for truth and integrity.